What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Patella, on for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day. And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson, can he go on the outside? Comes inside, comes up a shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody, welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Remond, after Burnley's emphatic rout against relegation rivals Sheffield United. 5-0 at Turf Moor yesterday. Wow, what a day, what a performance. It's great to actually see us win, because as I've said on plenty of podcasts before, I missed the win this season and the only other point with them being midweek away games. So it's good to actually see a performance. And I took my little boy as well. He was buzzing. He was loving it. But Sam, how are you, mate?
Oh, ecstatic, mate.
The first thing I want to point out is you've got changed.
I
Since the intro was on, you've put a jumper on.
It's cold. What do you expect? I'm freezing. -5.
I was looking forward to everybody seeing your Jets top, because you did look very nice in that, Sam. I'll be honest with you.
It's a Ravens shirt. Everybody was like,
changed
it's a
it
Ravens top.
He's got dressed, everybody. But Sam, how you doing, mate? You all right? You've had an eventful morning, haven't you?
Oh, mate, breakfast bright and early, shot over in the snow, skidding and sliding to come back for Turfcast as always.
That is dedication from Mr. Clarets Roundup. It's always great to see. Get your comments coming in. The comments are already rolling in. Milltown Dingle says, morning, lads. Morning, mate. Ryan Collins says, how good was Vitinho? How good were they all, mate? Colin McGlynn says, morning, everyone. Great to be here. Jamesy Lad says, morning, lads. Very rough. What a result. Simon Harvey says, morning, boys. Moretti Varus is back. It's been a while since I've seen that name, Simon. Hope you're well, mate. Simon's one of the proper OGs, like the legit OGs on the first few weeks of Turfcast when I was doing quizzes on Facebook in lockdown. Good to see you, mate. GOW says Bastards lost 3-1 as well. They did. Colin McGlynn corrects his spelling mistake. I weren't gonna mention it, Colin, but it grated on me. Harry says, finally a full-time show with 3 points. Yes, we didn't even do a full-time show after the Luton match, did we, as well? So this is the first full-time show. Jay Hartley says, morning, lads. Mike says, some beauty goals yesterday from us. Every goal were ace finishes. It really was. Peter Griffin, the actual Peter Griffin says, how good were Brownie and Burgency? Roscoe just puts a smile. And Matthew says, is Cullen injured? ? And also Bayer suspended for Wolves. Yes, when Vincent said he is awaiting a call from the doctor in his press conference, he was referring to Cullen. Danny Aston says, morning, boys. Ryan Collins, we'll get onto that in a bit, mate. Leo Caldergot's in the chat. Burnley's best photographer. He says, great result. Need to take that momentum into the Wolves game. Slightly annoyed with Bayer booting the ball into the stand for his 5th yellow. Yeah, me too, mate. It was a little bit silly. But we'll get on to all that. But of course, just before we get started, I just want to remind you all that the Turfcast podcast full-time show is now officially sponsored by Wave Car Finance. Wave Car Finance are a local car finance company who specialise in getting you your dream car through their fantastic one-to-one personalised service. Their finance-first approach ensures that you can Secure the very best finance in a deal tailored to suit you, and they can even settle any existing finance agreement and swap your current car into a new one. And to celebrate this brilliant new partnership between Wave Car Finance and Turfcast, if you mention Turfcast Podcast to them, they will give you a voucher worth up to £200 to spend in the Burnley FC club shop on completion of your finance deal. So why not pop down to their stunning showroom in Whalley, or give them a call, or even just send them an email or message them on social media to start your new car adventure today. And don't forget to mention Turfcast, because if you do, you basically get £200 of Burnley FC merchandise for free. But Sam, fantastic performance yesterday. It's great to actually talk about some positive stuff. I'm sure we won't get any of the negative comments in the chat today, calling us whingers and negative bastards and stuff. But what did you make of that performance yesterday?
Yeah, it was just brilliant, mate, from start to finish. Even when they had 11 men on the pitch, like, we were just easily the better team. You know, the red card, in my opinion, didn't really make much of a difference. I think we were dominant all the way through. I think we saw a lot of good performances from key players that needed them, in my opinion. Like, for example, Zeki. Like, Zeki needed a performance like that. He needed a performance where he just goes out and just shows what he's about. Because I do feel like gradually over time, obviously you're losing, like, you know, 13 out of, or 12 out of 14 games isn't great, or whatever it was. Like, so obviously you need a bit of a pick-me-up, and that is that type of game. It feels like this could really be a turning point for our season. We can take some momentum to Wolves. Ekdal coming back and getting a bit of time was fantastic. Everything just seemed to be so positive in this performance, and I was really pleased with it. So yeah, fantastic from every single one of them. Really well done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. There was a lot of players in there that played very well, that you needed it. Like Zeki, like, it's weird with him because you know he's got it in his locker. You can just quality there, but he's never really shown it too much. But yesterday were fantastic, weren't they? Obviously, I know you just mentioned it there, so I'll let you go into more detail on the Zeki thing. But how good was he?
Mate, his ability on the ball is absolutely class. Like, and that's one of the things I've been saying since the start, is we need to be playing to player strengths, and I do feel like we haven't managed to do that yet this season. However, yesterday we really let him just go to town. Like, we literally just turned around and said, "Run with the ball, literally get the ball and go." For their first goal. Sorry, they didn't even score. For our first goal,
you're just that used to it, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. No, honestly, like those feet, right? I know a couple of them are bobbles and stuff, but like, he's in the right place all the time. He's took it round his man. He's beat 3 or 4 men, got it out to Charlie. We scored in 15 seconds. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic. And his goal as well, like, that shows the caliber of player that we wanted to buy. Like, that's where he was last season, like, breaking the lines. It took 2 touches for him to get through 3 players. He took a touch of his chest, brought it down, 1 touch with his left foot, and then drills it in with his left foot. That's the Zeki Amdouni that we thought we were buying. And all we need now is to get that consistent, because that was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, he was fantastic yesterday. And he's probably been my most frustrating player to watch. Not in the fact that he's just downright dreadful, because he isn't, but you can see the quality there. And that's why he's been frustrating. He regularly gives the ball away in positions where he shouldn't. He regularly tries to do stuff in positions that he shouldn't. But yesterday was just perfect. He was perfect, but he wasn't the only one. But we will get into that. I just want to pick up on a comment from Colin. He says, just recovering from a heart attack on Thursday. So great to be here. Well, Colin, get well soon, mate. That's big boy stuff, that, mate. So hope you well. Speaking of big boy stuff, Neil has got a cold. That's not big boy stuff at all. He says he failed a late fitness test. So he says, morning, chaps. Sorry, I can't be. I don't even think he's got a cold. He's just lost his voice, which, to be fair, is quite important for the stream. So it's understandable why he's not here. But yeah, Colin, get well soon. Neil, get some Lemsip and shut up, mate. Come on. Yeah. But obviously, Zeki's not the only one that played well. There's others that played better, and I will get into them in a minute. But I was very impressed with Jay. The entire front line, like, the wingers were perfect. But Jay's had a lot of stick recently. I myself have said he's probably coming onto the past it side, and I feel like the performances have justified some of the comments. But yesterday, he was fantastic as well. Obviously, the goal after 15 seconds will help his confidence massively in the match. But he played very well, linking up well with the wingers, linking up well with Zeki, and obviously got the goal as well.
Yeah, I think the thing that we're always going to get with Jay Rodriguez is, like, he's always going to be consistently all right. And I don't actually think he's been that bad. in recent weeks. I genuinely just think we've not played to his strengths at all. The balls haven't really been going into the box, and if he's having to come deep to receive the ball at his age now, there's no way he's receiving the ball deep, playing it out wide, and then he's able to get back into the box in time. So I do just think we really, really, really just played to everybody's strengths yesterday. Like in my opinion, like Vitinho was fantastic at right back. He was absolutely unbelievable. Like defensively, he was class. So all these people that have been saying like, oh yeah, you know, and again, I know we're playing Sheffield United in 10 men for most of the game, but like his ability defensively was really, really good still. But his ability going forward was he gave us an extra winger on that right hand side, which was just unreal. Brun Larson was fantastic.
We've been saying he should start for a while, and I think he justified that yesterday. He was fantastic.
Such a player. Like, we signed him on loan. We were going to buy him. I think he's in his clause like £1 million to buy him outright. Like, sign it now, because the kid is very, very good. Like, and he's a player that I thought was going to come in and be like JBG, you know, like a technical player but not like rapid. He's pretty fast, and he's got a lot of technical ability, and I didn't expect it. So absolutely fantastic from him. And then 1.5 kids research, love it. Well, Sander Berge, that debate is done. Hamer, see you later, mate. Like Sander Berge, what an unbelievable player he is for us, and the fact that he's now and no disrespect to Cullen, I know we've seen a tweet or a comment already. Saying, you know, Cullen's injured and stuff like that. In my opinion, Cullen doesn't get into this team because
I agree.
Not right now, because this is a winning team that we've got now, like and in this system. And I do think we need to build on that, because there's so much to build on from that game, you know, like a 5-0 win is emphatic, regardless of 10 men, it's still emphatic. And the performance was paramount for me. Like the performance was fantastic. We didn't stop. We didn't let up. We just kept going and tried to go for the throat. And that's what we've needed to do. Now we can go to Wolves with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder and be like, okay, we are here to put in a shift. We're not here to just get turned over every week. We can go to Wolves and get stuff. We can play Everton and win. Like these next couple of games are going to be fantastic, hopefully. And if we can get similar levels of performance, absolutely fantastic. Such good performances from so many of them. Like, you can't even pinpoint one player.
No, you can't. But we're going to try it. We're going to try and do it later. But it's good to sit here and talk about how good certain players are. You mentioned Vitinho as well. I did want to chat about that, but you've done it already. But fantastic. He was good going forward. He was good at defending. He's been one where there's been some debate about his position recently, but I think yesterday you can say that position is probably his now for the foreseeable until a suspension or an injury or he regresses a little bit, which on yesterday's evidence I can't see it. So he was fantastic. Been some debate about O'Shea. Thought O'Shea was decent as well yesterday. He played well. I was one of the players. I wish I were a player. One of the fans before the match yesterday saying to probably bring Ekdal in and that'd be the only change. But O'Shea played brilliantly yesterday. Very impressed with him. Impressed with them all. Like everybody played very, very well. But I do want to highlight the wingers. You've mentioned Brun Larson there as well. But Zeki Amdouni, not Zeki Amdouni, the winger. What's he called? Luka Koleosho. Like absolutely. Like he's so good. Like I know I've waxed lyrical about him every week, and there's people that wax lyrical about certain players every week. Luka's mine. Like I love him. I think because when I were a footballer, I had dreadful feet, and I always appreciate players that have like incredible feet, and his feet are special. Like that kid, he's going to do very, very well in his career. He's going to go to the top, I think. But how good Ree yesterday?
Oh mate, he like the thing is we've been saying it for weeks. Like it gets drowned out with like how poor we have been. Like you almost feel like you don't want to put a full 20 minutes into like saying how good Koleosho has been when you've come away losing 5-2. Like, but genuinely, he is so good and he is so amazing at taking his man on and beating his man. And the second he missed that chance, I'm like, I'm nearly there in group chat. Like, I told you, it's his finishing ability, it's his final ball, and then he scored. Like, yes, thank God, like because he needs it. And now that is such a confidence boost for him. And now we can really kick on and say, all right, now I am just going to shoot. And when I do work my way into the box, I'm just going to have a go because eventually it will come. And he's managed to get his goal. And I'm so pleased for him. I think the only downside to the game was Masengo didn't get in. Like, I didn't even get a couple of minutes. Like, I'd have loved to have seen Masengo get 5 minutes in that game. But that's the only negative you can take from that game. Like, everything was spot on. All performances were fantastic. Luka was unbelievable again, like beating his man. His goal topped it off. Like, just fantastic. And even subs as well. Like, all the subs that came on, Tresor looked better. I know he only touched the ball about 8 times, but he looked like he was in a 5-0 winning team. Like, you know, he knocked the ball through. Who is it for them? John Fleck's legs. He knocked the ball through John Fleck's legs, like, just as he came on. Now, like, unreal, unbelievable. Just so, I'm so pleased. Everything's just so happy. I'm just such a happy boy this morning.
it feels like a full-time show from last season, this, doesn't it? We're actually in a good mood. It's class. And thankfully, that's been reflected in the comments. I didn't actually see that from Tresor. Obviously, I didn't see it because I was there. But I was wondering how he played. I couldn't really tell. But I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that he played well. I do want to mention Koleosho again because I know we've waxed lyrical about him already, but he's probably my favourite player this season, if I'm being honest. He's to me what Nathan Teller was last year. I absolutely love the guy. He gets the ball and he runs at players. But it like you said, he's the only one that gets the ball and runs at players. And he had, what is it, Baldock? He had him and Harmer doubling up on him, and he was still getting past him. He's just so good. I absolutely love the kid. I know a lot of people will probably go Sander for the man of the match, and don't put your man of the match comments in there yet, please. I know some of you will. I'm asking you now, don't do it. We'll have that debate later on, but I will probably go for Luka again. I absolutely love the kid. Like, if I was still getting names on the back of my shirt, I will get Koleosho. Maybe not if it's still 50p a letter like it was the last time I did it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll be getting
yeah. But Trafford as well. Like, a lot's been said about Trafford, including from us. We have said, I think we even said it as much as last week. We agreed that Trafford isn't the problem, but we probably would have had Muric in instead of Trafford. But he played well yesterday. I know some people have said, mainly the Facebook dads, have said on in the comments that he didn't have much to do. And yes, he obviously wasn't called upon as much as he would have been in some of the other games. But the things that he had to do, he did well. He saved a long-range shot, which I think was from Ollie Norwood in the first half. He came out and smothered that chance in the second half. He came and punched a couple of crosses as well. So he were good yesterday. And the fact that we kept a clean sheet as well will do his confidence. You were mentioning Koleosho's confidence from the finish earlier. I think the one person that needed a confidence boost was Trafford, and he played brilliant yesterday. And his best mate Thogden was in the stands as well. And I actually make a very slight appearance in that video, the back of my head, if you haven't watched it yet. So it's good to link up, Thogden. It's good to link up. But yeah, what did you make of Trafford?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I do think he did better, and I'm not going to dispute that. Like, I'm also not going to go the other way and be like, oh, he was unbelievable, because he did have a lot less to do. Like, but the things that he did have to do, he did brilliantly. Like, his claiming of crosses, his distribution was a lot better. You know, kind of could have something to do with the amount that Sheffield United pressed us. Like, I don't think they pressed as high as other teams have done. So he had a little bit more time to distribute the ball. But other than that, like, I mean, you know, we've said it for a few weeks now. Like, he's not the issue anymore. Like, he was at one point. Like, in my opinion, he was. He didn't help us start attacks. He also created a lot of issues for us going forward. Now he doesn't do that. And whenever he does get an opportunity to play the ball out now, it is normally pretty spot on. His claiming of crosses is brilliant. Hopefully, you know, that just keeps coming. A clean sheet is unbelievable for him. Like, it's so good. You could see when Vitinho stood up right at the end of the game. He stood up his man on like the 93rd minute, and you could see how much it meant to Trafford that they stopped them even getting a consolation goal. He was so pleased to get his first clean sheet. Was it his first clean sheet? I think it is. Was it? Yeah, it was. I think it's his first clean sheet this season. So to get his first clean sheet this season is absolutely fantastic, and really pleased for him. And hopefully he can kick on as well. But it just feels like a turning point. Like, regardless of who you've played and the situation that we've played, like, we've won 5-0 in the Premier League. That doesn't just happen. They shut up shop after that. Like, they literally shoved everybody behind the ball, and we still scored 3 goals in second half. Like, we genuinely, and the positive signs have been there over the last couple of weeks as well. Like when we played Palace, when we played West Ham. Yes, they're frustrating, but now we're in this position where we've just gone and won 5-0. And it almost becomes a thing now where you're kind of saying, okay, just like last season, it didn't work for a while. Now we've played Palace, lost 2-0, but played better. We've played West Ham. We were winning for a lot of the game, and we should have got points from that game, but didn't. Now we've gone and won 5-0. Now there is some optimism for the next couple of games. And now I'm optimistic again. And that is such a positive feeling. Like, if we go next week and lose, again, I won't be bothered because we won 5-0 the week before. So then when we do go to Everton, we can turn around and say, well, we're confident again because we won 5-0. We've proven we can score goals and we've proven we can beat teams. Like, that's now what... That's now... Oh, honestly, mate, I'm just so buzzing. So buzzing. I can't even explain it.
And no, you make a good point though, because that's the feeling that obviously we all have as fans, but the players will have that as well. So they'll be going into these games with confidence, and that's massive. Like you could see the shoulders drop, you could see the heads drop when we conceded against West Ham. You just knew that West Ham were going to get second, or at the very least, we weren't coming back and winning it. Whereas if we went 1-0 down at Wolves now, I'd be like, okay, you know, maybe we have the confidence to be able to come back and do it. But yeah, obviously 3 winnable fixtures coming up as well. I think off the top of my head, it is Wolves away, then Brighton away, then it's Everton at home. If I remember rightly, apologies if I got something wrong on that. Because I've tried to get as well. Yeah, then Fulham after that as well. Then, or is it Liverpool in between?
It's
then
Liverpool and then Fulham, innit?
Is it right? Yeah. So you know, there's 4 winnable games in the next 5. You know, and. It sounds so different from what we were saying last week, but it's amazing what a win does to win it. So you hit the nail on the head.
It's just such a positive feeling, mate. Like without like obviously we've had a lot of things to talk about from a negative standpoint this season because there hasn't been a lot of positives. Like regardless of how people want to like try and sugarcoat it all, like it hasn't been great. Like we have struggled this season. This game is now one of those positions where like. Forget the 10 games that came before it and just look at these last few. If we go over everything that we've been told and we've talked about, you know, from the documentary, we've talked about training sessions and players coming in and fitting the system and understanding the system. Yeah. And we saw it again last season where we played 15 odd games in the Championship last season. Didn't look unbelievable. We were in and around it, but we didn't look unbelievable. And then the second half of the season and the latter stage of the first half, like, we were unbelievable. We beat so many teams. We went 10 games undefeated, 10 games winning. Like we never looked like we were going to lose games. And now it does feel like performances have got better from Palace, got better from West Ham. And now we've gone and won 5-0. It's like, now what is next? Like, and I do think part of it has come from like a little bit more, you know, we've got a little bit more optimism with the fact that, like, I do feel like we've found a relatively consistent team now. Like, we know Brownie and Sander Berger in midfield, so you know that. I would now play Brun Larsen on the right-hand side and start him. If he doesn't work, I don't even think, like, I know Redmond only touched the ball for, like, five or six times, but I don't think he looked out of place when he came on. Same with Tresor. Like, what we're wanting now is those types of substitutions, not pushing Brownhill to right-hand side and things like that. Not, you know, not just make those positive substitutions. And like I say, everything kind of came together yesterday to be, like, a really perfect performance. Like, everybody played well. Similar, same starting 11 has been pretty consistent recently. Luke has been fantastic. You know, Amdouni getting on the ball is brilliant. Like, Brun Larsen effectively solidifying that right midfield spot. The only position...
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. The only position that I would probably say, without disrespecting Jay after we've spoke about how well he's done, is having another striker available. Like, obviously, there is links with us to Chuba Akpom from Ajax. Like, I don't know how solid they are, but I do think...
I've not seen them.
No, but I do think without Lyle being available right now for obvious reasons, and we still wish him a speedy recovery, we are still light in that position. However, in saying that, I thought Obafemi looked really good when he came on. And I was so gutted when he missed that chance. I was like, if he just scored, I'd have been like, Obafemi starts next week, get him in the lineup.
But it's mad though. Like, literally everybody played well. Like, even the players that came on, as we mentioned, Obafemi, Redmond, Tresor, you know, all did relatively well when they came on. So that obviously then begs the question, were we good or were they just absolutely dreadful? Or is it a mixture of both, which I think personally is, like I said on the fan reaction, like, don't take anything away from us. Yes, they were poor, but we played well as well. And you can only play what's put in front of you. But in the pockets that they were leaving for us, which what other teams wouldn't do, we were exploiting them very, very well with a lot of technical quality. But do you think it's a bit of a mixture of how bad they were and how good we were?
Yeah, I think you'd be a bit naive to not look at it from that standpoint. Obviously, they are not a fantastic team. We haven't been either. So when teams come up against us, they might say the same. You know, like when Wolves come to us next week, or we go to them. Can't remember. Like they might think, oh, we're playing Burnley. Like it is a mix of the two. However, I'm very happy with how this season's gone to lean on the Burnley being unbelievable side. Like I'd rather lean on that because there's so many positives to take. And yes, we're playing a lesser team that doesn't perform very well week in, week out. But we also exploited every single avenue and still managed to score 2 goals before they went a man down, and then scored 3 goals when they had 10 men. And that comment says it perfectly. We made them look like they're not great, but we made them look worse than they are.
Yeah.
And that is down to us because we were brilliant.
I mean, it's worth remembering that they recently drew at Brighton, as somebody said in the comments. Yeah. They recently won a match. I can't remember who they beat, but it was Wolves. So the next 2 games, you know, all right, I think Wolves were robbed pretty much on some VAR fronts, if I remember rightly. But the next 2 games, the next 2 games, we're playing teams that have got something against Sheffield United. So yeah, we did. I agree with that. We made them look bad. Yes, they are bad, but we made them look worse than what they are. And the fact that they've had results against Everton, all right, when Everton were crap, Everton have turned a corner now, and Brighton and Wolves, and frustrated City to a point, and frustrated Tottenham to a point, just shows how well we actually did yesterday.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's the way we played. Like I think, and like I said, I can only really remember it from like how I viewed the game, but like that right hand side, like. Vitinho it was such a nightmare for him, like because he doesn't stop running. He just doesn't stop buzzing around the pitch. Like he was breaking the line every time, so he was always in for a pass down the line, and he step overs and he beat a man constantly, and he'd drill it across the box or he'd cut back and he had a chance for himself where he nearly scored. Like he was on fire yesterday, and I really think that makes a positive difference because it's similar to when we had Maatsen on left hand side. If you have more numbers going forward, you can double it up and you can interchange and you know, your fullback can bomb on and stuff like that without disrespecting Connor Roberts, because I do still like Connor Roberts. He hasn't done that for us this season. He was so good yesterday, Vitinho. And we just had so many positive performances in so many positions. And it's just so nice to see, like, Brownhill was class. Burge was class. That midfield was so solid. Nobody could get through it. So then when we did have anything, we literally just mopped everything up, went straight back to Bayer. Bayer was good. When Ekdal came on, he looked comfortable. Like, you know, Dara O'Shea was brilliant. Charlie was class again. Like, what a ball into box that was as well. And everything just came together yesterday. And I just think all you've got to do now is just sit back and really, really, really enjoy that win and hope that we can kick on and get and keep kicking on going forward, because that is something to build on for sure.
100%. And it shows what type of person you are as well, because yesterday I was putting tweets out, obviously very happy that Burnley had won a game 5-0 in the Premier League. And I saw what's he called, Burnley Stats, Dave Burnley Stats, can't remember his last name, put in a tweet out yesterday showing that the last time we won 5-0 at home was like ages ago. And I was like, obviously you've got to be happy. But some of the comments straight back were, it's Sheffield United, lads, calm down. From Burnley fans, like, enjoy the moment. We might get tanked at Wolves and then constantly be shy again for the rest of the season like we have been so far. But obviously we mentioned pretty much every player apart from one, Charlie Taylor. He played well as well yesterday, didn't he? Obviously put a brilliant ball in for Jay as well. I think it was Charlie, wasn't it? He probably hit that ball around 13 seconds, and then it takes 2.8 seconds to get into the net. What a ball that were, and he played well as well.
I messaged Dad straight after, and I just said, like, don't you think it's absolutely hilarious that Burnley have managed to score with 2 players that last played in a Dyche team? Like, it's just hilarious, isn't it? Like, Burnley finally managed to get a goal going 1-0 up against a team in a game where you really, really, really need something, and it's Charlie Taylor whipping ball into the box to Jay Rodriguez. But no, like, it's just, honestly, it's just fantastic. And Charlie Taylor, I think rightfully so from us on the podcast, have been giving him such praise, because I do think like, of all the players in the team, he's the one that was almost ostracized from the team last season, told he wasn't going to play, basically spent the entire pre-season playing him with like a second team constantly, never being told he was going to be in first team, played a centre half there for the first couple of weeks, you know, before we actually managed to put him into the team.
And then a right back.
yeah, exactly. And now what he's doing is he's showing everybody what Charlie Taylor is capable of. We said it for ages, and I said it at the start of the season. Charlie Taylor was always one of my favourite players in all the Dyche teams. He was one of our most creative players at left back then. So putting him in this team, obviously he'll play less of a type of role than Maatsen did, but he's still such a good player, so clever, and so defensively sound as well. Like, that's the thing that Charlie gives you. I never feel worried when Charlie Taylor's defending. So whenever he gets forward, I'm like, sound, do what you like. Because every time he seemed to put a ball into the box, every header we scored under the Dyche era felt like it was either McNeil or Charlie Taylor putting ball into the box. And yesterday he's done exactly the same. Charlie Taylor deserves all the plaudits because he was wrote off by everybody, just like Barnes was last season. And he's turned it around. Absolutely fantastic. Buzzing for him.
Yeah, he was class. I'm going to bring in some player ratings. I don't normally do this, but the player ratings aren't normally great to watch. It's great to see. But on ours, that's not the best. I'll try and zoom in a bit for you, boys and girls. But if obviously ours is on the left, Sheffield United is on the right. And for those listening on the podcast, I'll just quickly go through. So you've got Trafford, who gets a rating of 7.4. Charlie Taylor, who gets 7.7. Bayer, who gets 7.6. O'Shea, 7.9. Vitinho, 7.7. Koleosho, only 7.8, which I'm surprised at. Brownhill, 8.8. Burge, only 7.4, which I'm surprised at.
That's the madness, is that? It clearly didn't watch the game.
Lawson, 7.7, Amdouni, 9, who gets their man of the match, and Rodriguez, 7.9. Now, I think the reason why Burge gets a low one is because he didn't get a goal or an assist, and obviously stuff like that will bump stats up quite. These ratings up quite highly. But it's great to see a lot of players get a lot of positive shout outs there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, you know, and the thing is as well, like, necessary, so necessary. Like and you know. Rightfully so as well. We have all absolutely slated some of these players, and rightfully so, because but in certain areas, some of these players haven't done what they're meant to do. Like, over the last couple of weeks, I've been a little bit less on players and more about team performance. Like, it's because before it felt like individuals. You know, like, you could look back at the start of the season and say Connor Roberts wasn't doing this, Trafford wasn't doing that. You know, too much tinkering from the manager. Now, then it became the performances were better, but we still managed to lose. We still did this. We still did that. This here is an overall fantastic performance. Everybody on the pitch deserves praise because we actually played fantastic. Like, and every single one of them. Like, you don't look at the team and say he was carried throughout the game and it was 10 players and he was just there. Every single one of them deserves a shout out for that performance. It was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant. Like, in every way, shape or form. Burge getting a 7.4. Still think it should be higher, but Sander Burge is slowly becoming one of my favourite players because he's just so good. He's been put in a role that he's not, you know, necessarily, well, people wouldn't say is his best role, and he's making it his best role because he's absolutely brilliant at it. Having Brownhill next to him probably gives him a little bit of reassurance in the nicest possible way to Cullen. I do absolutely love Josh Cullen, but I do think the Brownhill-Burge centre midfield partnership is where it's at. And then, like, I mean, for me, I understand why you're going Koleosho because you like him, but mate, there's no other man of the match other than Zeki Amdouni. He was absolutely phenomenal.
He was good.
That's the player that we spent £18 million on. He's the player that, you know, people were raving about us buying because he's a Swiss beast and he's one of the best young and up and coming players in the world, and he was on all these lists of strikers that are going to become good. And he was absolutely brilliant. That goal rounds it off. Unbelievable. His first touch ability, unbelievable. The way he beats his man is class. He was absolutely toying with defenders yesterday. So for me, honestly, he's just so good, and it was so nice to watch as well. I loved it.
It was class, wasn't it?
He's like duking left and right. And he's like, "Oh, come get the ball. Oh, never mind. Oh, I'm going this way. Oh, see you later." Loved it. Unreal.
Yeah, Danny Astin says he's like our little Zola is Zeki. I think that's quite a good comparison, to be fair. But Sam's gone early with the man of the match shout, so get yours in now. Obviously, I've already. To be fair, I said man a lot earlier.
Yeah,
So I went for Luca. I'm quite biased. Neil's the president of the Muric fan club. I think I'm the president and owner and founder of the Amdouni fan club. But sorry, not Amdouni. I get it mixed up all the time. I don't know why.
I'll have that role. I don't mind.
Yeah, you can have that role. The Koleosho fan club. But Fanatis, I hope I pronounced that right, mate, says Zeki. As I said, Sam says Zeki. Danny Astin says our little zone with Zeki, as I've mentioned. Graham 907 says Amdouni. Yeah. Harry says Burge put Zeki and Luca far behind. I think he means but. I've missed one. Johan the Great says Trafford, he kept a clean sheet. Hey, can't knock it. Can't knock it.
It's an awful shout.
Yeah, no, it's not. He did what he had to do. He did well. Alan says Burge, especially against his old team. The only thing that frustrated me about Burge, you know what? I always get confused with his surname, but I've said Burge now. The only thing I get confused with him yesterday is he was getting into good shooting positions and he didn't shoot. Now, I don't know if he's got a dreadful shot on him or what, but he got into some decent shooting positions yesterday, and I just thought, hit it, man, hit it. You're playing your own team. I'd love a thunderbolt against these from you, but he just didn't. But he ran that midfield. Like, he was fantastic. Like you said, Brownhill giving him a bit of that freedom as well. But yeah, I don't want to go too much into it because we already mentioned it as well. Milltown says Burge. Mike says Burge. I've already mentioned Alan. Simon says close between Burge and Amdouni, but got to plump for Zeki. True Red says Trafford. That's Trafford's second shout. I hope you're watching, James, because I haven't told recently by someone at the club that James, not that he watches the channel, I'm sure he doesn't, but he reads social media and stuff like that. Like, so all these negative comments that he's been getting stick for, he's one of the players that does read them. So he will probably been getting a little bit affected by it. So it's great to see the fan base. And someone in the comments earlier said it's people being fickle. It's people buzzing for a win is what it is. And it's great to see the fan base giving him a lot of praise, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a player that needs it. Like, he's one of the players that needs the confidence boost most, because we've shipped a lot of goals this season. Like, not all of them down to him. In fact, a lot of them not down to him. A lot of it's down to that defense. And in fairness as well, that's another point. That defense needs that as well. That defense needs 100%.
A clean sheet. The entire defensive unit needs that, not just him.
They, like I say, regardless of whether or not you want to say, go the other way and say like, oh, they were rubbish and they didn't do anything at goal. They were actually still trying at 10 men. They had a couple of half chances at 10 men. Like, they still had to be on the ball. I think the thing that they were really good with, these defenders, the other day, was they were classy playing the ball out from the back. Like, they were really good at getting the ball straight into a right midfielder rather than going full back first. It was just straight out. We were getting the ball to where it needed to go early. And I think that really, that was a really positive thing. I'm buzzing for all of them. I'm buzzing for Trafford for his first clean sheet. I'm buzzing for the defence managing to get that one of their first clean sheets of the season. Like, I just think we really have to kick on now from this result and this performance and really say, now we've proven that, yes, okay, the other argument could be, it's two teams that are in the relegation zone, two teams that aren't at the standard for this league. You could argue that. The other side of it is we've proven that by beating that team 5-0 that we can go up against anybody and perform in the same way and get results. Like, we can now go to Wolves with a real chip on our shoulder and say, this is the game where we're like, right, we've just won 5-0 before this. Play the same way, play for each other, play as a unit, and we'll beat Wolves. Like, we'll get results from Wolves, we'll get results from Everton, we'll get results from Brighton. Like, and that's the mentality that we should have. And it is such a lovely feeling to go into a Sunday happy. It's lovely.
It is, isn't it?
I love it.
It is, isn't it? I was tweeting this morning, like, morning Clarets, and I've not done that all season. Like, I love a Sunday morning tweet. It's just so basic, so simple. morning, Clarets, and everyone's buzzing because everyone just responds to it and interacts with it because they're just happy that we've got it. If I put morning, Clarets up after the drubbing against Spurs, I probably got told to piss off and blocked off some people. So it's good. It's good that we can go the other way. I do want to talk about Sheffield United though. I know we've mentioned it briefly that they were pretty bad. I don't want to go into that again, but some of the challenges and some of the tactics that they had, I've seen a few comments in the chat already. I've not seen it back again. You may have done about McBurney's first elbow. Obviously, he got sent off for a second yellow, which some people said should have been a straight red, and that challenge alone. But the first one should have been a straight red as well. It's just dirty, isn't it? It's just typical. I'm going to say typical Sheffield United, but I don't mean that in the sense that they've always been like that. But I think for the last few years they have been, especially with players like McBurney in there. And when we were 2-0 up, they were obviously frustrated and they were trying to drag it back down to their level. And they got what they deserved by getting the man sent off, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't hate McBurney. Like, I actually think he's actually an all right striker. But he lets himself down with situations like that. He always has those moments in him.
He does stupid stuff.
That first one, how have VAR looked at that and said it's not? The only way that you can say it, maybe, and even then I'm thinking like I'm probably 2% on like backing it, but like he was looking at the ball, but at the same time he knows his man's there and he's swinging.
I think the intent's there.
So that intent to harm, which is a red card. And again, I don't want to go into a whole VAR discussion again, but it just proves how incompetent VAR is. Like the fact that it took 2 yellow cards for the same incident to create a red card for an incident that's a red card on its own. Like it just baffles me, mate. Like it's so silly and it's silly from his perspective. But then I also thought like they put a lot of silly tackles in. Like John Fleck did one 13 minutes into the game, and it was just like, why have you done that? The weirdest tactic I saw was when Tresor came on and he came on that left-hand side. Jayden Bogle never actually tried to tackle the ball off him, but just kept trying to run into him. He literally didn't try and shepherd him away. He didn't try and stand him up. He just kept running into him. So like Tresor had like turn and play it back. And then as Tresor went to run, Jayden Bogle would just run into him. And then he'd step back and then Tresor would get the ball, play it to the side. And he literally just kept running into him. And I'm just like, it's such a hecking bottom way of playing. Like genuinely, without going into too much detail about it, Paul Heckingbottom is one of the worst football managers I've ever seen in my life. His tactics are boring. He's such a weird manager. Like, and how on earth he's a Premier League manager is ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't get his tactics. I don't get how him and the board have worked in unison to sell and die and not replace him. I know that's not necessarily all down to him, but then he doesn't set his team up like in a way where you actually think like, oh, they're going to play really well here. Like they almost play like an American football team, like a defensive line, and all they try and do is just hit you all the time. Like there's no fun to that. And I do feel for Sheffield United fans because unfortunately, while you have got Heckingbottom in charge, there is absolutely no way you're going to have any fun at all because he's such a boring manager.
It's potentially out of the fire and into the frying pan or whatever the saying is, because they're talking about getting Wilder back, and it's better than Heke, but it's a similar sort of style. I do want to mention a comment here from Harry. He says Dara hardly touched him for his yellow either. Can't be throwing his elbows down and going, exactly, mate. That was right in front of me. And I was fuming with that because I don't think there was any contact. At all. And he goes down and it was pathetic. I was that few, and I even got before and I took a picture of him lying up floor. I don't know why.
It's pathetic.
I just thought I'd take a picture and put it on and slide him off.
I think Dara played the situation though, like he just had the elbow and then he'd gone in to try and win the ball back off McBurney, and he's gone down like because he's gonna do that because he is that type of player. Like he's the kind of player that's like, oh, I've just elbowed you and got away with a red card, so I'm now going to get you a yellow card. Like he just is that kind of player. So I feel like Dara could have just pulled away slightly, but it was bound to happen, wasn't it? Like it was like written in the stars from the elbow. Like the elbow happened. 30 seconds later, Dara O'Shea tries to win the ball off him, or miraculously there's a yellow card with no contact. Like It was just bound to happen.
It was so infuriating at that point because they'd had 2 yellows when they could have easily had a red and 4 yellows. And then all of a sudden we had a yellow. It was so frustrating. But like you said, I don't want to talk about VAR too much. I don't want to chat about the referee too much.
No.
You've mentioned going into the Wolves game and then the Brighton game and all the other games now with a bit of confidence. What's the thinking now? Is it too early to be like, we're going to go on a run and we could potentially stay up? Or is it just a case of, well, at least now we're not going to all be like, well, we're definitely down like some Burnley fans this time last week. I think every Burnley fan will be like, hold on, we've got a fighting chance now. Is that how you feel?
That comment of who did Fleck go through the back of, it was Brownhill. But I think what we need to do is we need to keep his feet firmly planted on the ground because we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. But there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this team is now capable, from that 5-0 win, of going into games more competitive. Whether that means we win, whether that means we just pick up points. In my opinion, I said from these 5 games, I want to see 9 points. From the 5 games, from this game and the other 4, I want to see 9 points. And if we can get 9 points from those games, that is unbelievable. Like, and if we get 9 points, like that puts us back in touching distance of other teams. Everton winning wasn't great, but it is what it is. They are still behind us. We now need to be looking at that Wolves game, that Fulham game, that Everton game as we can't lose. That's it. Don't look at it from a perspective of, oh, did Everton go above it? Oh, goal difference, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, goal difference.
But like for example, if we win the next game, we're on 10 points, okay? So we're above Luton, let's say. So we're out of the relegation zone. Then if Bournemouth don't manage to win their game in hand, they play at home to Villa today. So hopefully Villa can do us a job and win. I don't know. Have they got Ollie Watkins? Because I swear he got injured the other day. That could be a bit of a difference. But anyway, hopefully Duran has a masterclass. So Bournemouth not picking any points up in the next 2 weeks would be ideal. If we can go and get some points and get just in behind them. Nottingham Forest are out of it yet. Like
100% agree. They're getting properly dragged into it.
Yeah, we're close. We're closing in. That if we can, like I say, if we can get 2 more wins, right, that puts us on 13 points. Okay, let's say in a hypothetical world, none of the other teams pick up any points. That means that we're in touching distance of Fulham, Forest, Wolves, Bournemouth, Luton, and we can catch them. We just have to be consistent. We have to make sure that we're picking points up in nearly every game. Like, we need to be getting at least a point in all those games, at least. We just can't lose 3 out of the 4 because that would be devastating. They're such winnable games, and I'd be quite sad if we lost all. If we didn't come away with points, I'd be quite sad.
Well, yeah, but I think that's the reason why we are where we are. Like, we've had these winnable games recently. Like, we've had West Ham at home, lost. We've had Palace at home, lost. We've had Bournemouth away, Brentford away, lost them both. So we need to now take this group of winnable games and make them count. But it's good to see that the confidence is back because Michael Sullivan says 10-match winning streak starts now. Harry says top 8. So it's amazing what a win can do, isn't it? But yeah, I'm now looking. I say up the table. I'm not looking up the table thinking, you know, we can finish in the top half and as such. But now we've got the win, and I'm now looking at what teams above us are on points where I wasn't even checking them out this time last week. I was like, oh, well, what's the point? We're not going to catch them. So that's a good sign. That's a positive. I do think Luton still go down. I know they've had a good start, and a lot of their fans are getting giddy on Twitter. But I still think they go down. There's only so much you can do when you're just trying to bully your way through games. They will eventually fall into the relegation zone. I think I wasn't too bothered about Everton's win yesterday personally, because I still think they stay up and they stay up comfortably. I think come the end of the season, we won't even be talking about them. Daesh has done a great job there, annoyingly. So it's not them that bother me. Bournemouth winning 3 out of the last 5 has bothered me. But yeah, we need to start winning these games, mainly, as you mentioned, to drag the likes of Forest and to drag the likes of Fulham into it. And if we win on Tuesday when we play Wolves, they could be potentially getting dragged into it because that'll be losing their last 3 in a row. So, yeah, starting to look up. So, positive signs.
I just genuinely, mate, I just think we have got an opportunity now. Like, we've played everybody once, but there's now teams that we can beat. Like, we can beat Everton, we can beat Luton again, we can beat Bournemouth, we can beat Fulham, we can beat like Everton, we can beat these teams. Like, we just have to be consistent in his performances, and I think that's where we are. That 5-0 win yesterday has obviously given us a lot of beans, because we genuinely are all nice, so happy now. And I also think we deserve to be. We've had so many weeks of just whatever. Like, watch the first half an hour, 3-0 down, turn it off, not even bothered. Like, now we actually get to enjoy this moment, and then, look optimistically into the next game, which we haven't been able to do yet. Like, we get to go to Wolves and say we can put in a performance. Then we've got Brighton the week after. They're still in Europe, so they'll still be recovering from going into European games. Like, they've got some injuries as well. Like, they're not exactly. Yes, they're a good team, and of all the teams, like, that's the one that worries me, probably even a little bit more than Liverpool. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it does, because they're such a good team at Brighton. We can still pick up points against them. We still genuinely can. We can still win at these games, and I just feel so much more optimistic going into these next couple of games, and it'll be interesting to see. But we should, like you say, we should be looking to drag teams like Forest and Fulham back into it. We should be now trying to kick on and be like, right, we're on 10 points next week, then we're on 13 points, and teams are looking over the shoulder going, bloody hell, Burnley are coming back, aren't they? Like, that's what we want. That's what we want. We don't want people to be like, Burnley beat Sheffield United, and then they've lost to Wolves, and then they've lost to Brighton, and then they've lost to Fulham and Everton. Like, we don't want that.
No, 100% agree. We need to make it count, and we need to make this confidence take us through this next set of winnable games. Negatives. We've got to 53 minutes without mentioning any negatives. And in terms of the performance, there wasn't any. But the one for me was obviously the Jordan Bayer yellow card, which means he now misses a Wolves game. It was, I don't actually recall the yellow, but apparently it was for kicking the ball out when we were 4-0 up, which is just stupid. So if that is the case, then Jordan, if you're watching, is not. But you never know. That was stupid, mate. He might have just fancied a week off. Who knows? But
It's his birthday every year.
Yeah, but it's if you're gonna get a suspension to one of your centre backs, now's the time to do it, because Ekdal's back. So straight swap, Ekdal for Bayer, surely.
Yeah, I mean, even when he came on, like, he kind of backed up instantly with, like, the first run that he did. Like, that we've been saying about how much of a clever centre back he is. Like, he literally got the ball, took one turn, beat 3 Sheffield United players, then played it in front, then played it to JBG, and then made a run, and he was in the centre of the box, like, just stood there waiting for the ball. Like, he's so clever when he plays football, and defensively, like, we know he's not fast, but he read every ball over the top, because eventually they were just trying to lump the ball. He read every ball. He's such a clever centre half. So that's not a swap that worries me. The only thing that worries me is his fitness, his match sharpness, but he is such a brilliant centre half, and fantastic. Honestly, fantastic. And I'm so pleased he's back, because I've been waiting for him to come back. Swedish international for a reason. And looking forward to it, mate. Really looking forward to seeing him play.
Yeah, me too. Getting towards the hour mark, is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you want to talk about? Anything in the chat that anyone wants us to give our opinion on? Because we'll start wrapping it up in around 10 minutes or so.
I think some of the subs were unfortunate not to get on, like Aaron Ramsey. I said that one of the best things that we could do is get some players on now for confidence, because we're in a winning position. Like, just get them into the team so we can see what some people bring. Like, those were the positions that I actually really, really want. This is a position that I wanted to play players in, not in the cup, because if you play a young team in the cup that barely plays together, you just out of the cup, and then what's the point? Like, then you just lose the cup as a chance to play players. So you might as well play half a decent team and a couple of fringe players in the team. Like I say, one of my negatives was Masengo not getting on. Like, Masengo played unreal for under-21s the other day. Like, he probably deserved 5 minutes at least, just to get a bit of fitness, just to play at the turf, just to get a feel for it, because eventually he could come into the team. I know, obviously, the midfield was unbelievable, but, you know, I'd have liked to have seen him come on. I'd have liked to I'd have loved to have seen Obafemi score. I don't know why. I just love
that. It was so close as well.
I just love him. I love everything about him. And he looked sharp. He looked really good. And he did the runs that our strikers did last season. Did you see the one where he was like in the centre of the box and then he just moved just to the right-hand side where he got it for his shot? So he moved in between two defenders where there was a huge gap and he made the movement to receive the ball. That's how our strikers played last season. We haven't seen enough of it this year. That run to give himself the space to get the ball from JBG and then just turn and shoot. Like, he's a player that's been with us probably for the longest of a lot of the players. And I think that did actually show in just that one move. I'd love to see him play more because I actually love him. Like, and when he scores at the turf, like, can you imagine how loud it'll be? Like, everybody will pop off because the guy's just unreal. Like,
and he'll do some sick dance as well.
Yeah, but he's just a really likable guy, and I really would just like to see him score and kick on and be the player that we signed him to be. Because we signed him to be a mainstay striker, didn't we? And obviously it's not ended up like that. But I'd be buzzing with that. I think another talking point you could maybe mention is like the January transfer window's a month away. Like, what do you strengthen now?
Striker, I presume, but then that'll just everything you've constantly just said about Obafemi. That if we bring another striker and then Lyle's better, where does that leave Obafemi? Fourth choice?
No, surely not. He's my first choice.
This is what I mean. Like,
I think striker and centre half for me. Striker, centre half, centre midfielder. Just extra bodies.
Yeah, I'd still like another right back. I know Vitinho played well yesterday, but if he got an injury, I wouldn't be too. And a left back as well.
Yeah, left back definitely.
Which to be fair, brings me on nicely to a comment here from Matthew. He says, "Do we get a new left back in Jan or stick with Shaz? Doesn't deserve to be replaced yet." I think it's difficult because a lot of people will point to the fact that Kompany would probably rather have somebody else than Shaz. But I agree with the last part of that sentence. I don't think he deserves to be replaced yet. And now that we have Vitinho on the right hand side, we've got that balance back, as Sam mentioned earlier in the debate. So I agree. I don't think he deserves to be replaced yet, but I think his contract's up at the end of the year, is it? So he will probably leave at the end of the year, I would imagine. If that's true, if I'm wrong, please somebody tell me now in the comments.
I'd probably stick with Chaz now. I think he's played his way into that position. I think the only player that we're bringing at left back is like he's just for cover. He just needs somebody that's there just in case he gets injured or, you know, just other than that. But I think I just think losing players in Jan, I think no, not really. Tresor can't go back in January because we signed him permanently for 18 mil. So he's now a Burnley player. Losing anybody in January? Who could we lose in January? Is there anybody?
No, unless somebody comes in for somebody. But a lot of players are relatively new, unless somebody like Zarori left. You know, he's not getting game time.
Yeah, but I don't really think I could see. I don't think I could see it. I just don't. I don't know why, because the logic in me says that there is potential of him sat there, played really well last season. Somebody could come in with a bid, and obviously he's not playing. But yeah, I don't know. I would say no because I do still think Muric could go. Yeah, that's a good point. Muric could go. Sue. I wouldn't want him to, but yeah, nobody will come in for Koleosho now because we'll just say no. Masengo maybe I think it would be mostly loans. I think loans would be the market. And I think the only player that I could see really going permanently is Muric. And to be fair, I don't blame him. Like if Muric,
I don't blame him, but it would be a shame. I'd be disappointed to see him leave.
It'd be a shame for us, but I don't think we should stand in his way if he wants to leave and try and get first team football. I think it'd be pretty unfair to do that and turn around to him and say, "We're not going to sell you. You're just going to have to sit there and wait." Like,
yeah,
I'd be pretty gutted if as a Burnley fan, for Muric, if that was the case. But yeah, I could probably see Muric go and send some players out on loan. But I'd love to see a positive January transfer window. None of this Orsic malarkey. I don't want to see him anywhere near a claret and blue shirt ever again. No, that type of transfer, I don't never deal with Dinamo Zagreb ever again. Just they don't exist. Let's just try and find some good players out there and just bring them in. That's all.
To be fair, we dodged a bullet with him. He was a wet wipe. He ended up leaving Southampton, didn't he? He was pathetic. Ryan Collins said he'd send Tresor out on loan. I think him and Koleosho might work well, sort of like in tandem, as somebody said earlier.
I think
in the
right.
chat.
I'll tell you what, right? Just very quickly, I would give Tresor less stick, right, than people have been, because Tresor has only started one game, I believe, and was it Brentford that he started?
He'd started at Brentford.
So he started
I went down and he was dreadful.
No, but that was one of our worst performances as a team all season. So just turning around to Tresor and saying he's the only player that's not done this and he's not done that. The guy's literally been getting 8 minutes at the end of most games. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even the other day, like, he got, what were it, 20 minutes, 15 minutes? Like, not many players look brilliant off the bench. Like, the guy will eventually become good. It's also a huge transition for him. Like, he's moved from the Belgian league. I know a lot of players have kicked on from the Belgian league, but he's come in. He's not really solidified his place in the team. We have also bought a lot of wingers, so that gives us a pretty difficult situation to play, because you can only play 2, and we have like 10. So Tresor not being in the team and not starting doesn't mean that Tresor's not been fantastic. Because like that comment from Johan, I love Odebear. Odebear didn't even come on yesterday. Odebear doesn't feature every single week, but people love him. Like, and he's scored 1 goal and stuff like that. Ramsey, people seem to go back to Aaron Ramsey from that Manchester United game. We haven't seen him since. We don't even know if it's the reason why he's not playing is because he's not performing in training and stuff like that. Like, you just don't know everything that goes on. I think Tresor will eventually become good. I just think he's going through a bit of a similar situation to Foster, where it isn't fitting right now. But eventually it can become good. Like, not every player's kicked on this season and become good. We've had the whole conversation at the beginning of the show about, you know, the transfer situation and the tactics that we have and the training regime that we've got, and it takes a certain amount of hours to bed into the team. Tresor didn't hit that threshold at that time. We gave Lyle time, and now Lyle's doing absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, we have a possibility that in 10 games time, is that 10 games time? Yeah, in 10 games time. For some reason, as I said, that didn't sound like it were right, but eventually he could become good, and then we're back into the same situation as we were with Lyle, where everybody's eating humble pie, like myself.
Yeah, I think the main issue with Tresor is, as some people have said in the comments, his favourite position is on the left, but to take Koleosho off the left now would be absolutely criminal. So he's kind of in a bit of a sticking point there. Some more comments have come in. Solent says, man of the match, as it'd say, like, you're hinting, because that's when I asked, like, if anybody wanted us to do anything. We did it early. Did it around 30 minutes mark, mate. So when I finish it, go back. I think the majority of people actually gave it Zeki. I gave it to Luca because I'm a fanboy, and a lot of shouts for Burge, some shouts for Trafford as well. And he did say himself, he followed that up, saying between Amdouni and Berg. Johan the Great says, Joe, what's happened to Amin? I don't think anything's happened, mate. I just think he's not played very well in the Premier League so far, so he's gone down the pecking order, and I think rightly so. Sam, do you agree? Or
yeah, I do. I think what happened with Amin, which is unfortunate, is he's a young player who got thrown into the deep end and realised he needed armbands still. Like, you know, shame, but eventually he will still become good. Like, it's just not the right time for him. Yeah, and it's similar for players like Odebear. Like, Odebear will become good. He looks a tidy player now, but he's not fine-tuned enough. Like, we're doing it with Koleosho. We can't do it with 2 players. Like, we're giving Koleosho the license to play freely and do what he wants to do, which is brilliant, and it's rewarding us so far this season. But if you had two wingers that are both young 18, 19-year-old players, and every week you're trying to bed them into your system and I just don't think it'd work. That's why I'm really pleased with Brun Larson and him coming into the team. I think we've had a really, and I think one of the biggest things as well is VK had a masterclass yesterday. His team selection was spot on.
Yeah.
His subs were brilliant.
Tactics spot on,
it's the one game where I feel like we can't criticise Kompany for anything.
I feel like he needed it as well. Now, I know a lot of the fans are on the side of keep him till the end of the season, unless we break Derby's record, which obviously we're not going to. No. But he needed that. And he needed that as well because he made mistakes in the West Ham game. And the subs he made, in my opinion, cost us that game. So he needed that as well. But just quickly moving on, Alan says, most improved player this season, ? I've got to go with Sander, personally. I thought he was quite poor early on. I think the system has been adapted to suit him more. Not that the system's adapted just for him, but we have now adapted to the system where he's not playing, as I've said plenty of times, in this 6. He's now playing in more of an 8. And I think that suits him a bit more. And he has license to go forward a bit more now. So for me, I'd go Sander. There's some comments in. I did see somebody say Koleosho, which, he is getting better, but he was always, you could always see something there with Luca. But he has got better. But with Sander at first, I was like, wow, like this guy's actually terrible. But now he's playing in a system that suits him. He's fantastic.
With Luca, he was an unknown quantity though. Like, we didn't know what he could bring, so you don't know what his potential is based on what he was. So I agree he's improved dramatically because he's playing Premier League football week in, week out and beating everybody. He's got people on toast. But I think Sander Berge is probably the most improved. But I do think Vitinho, the Vitinho of last season was always behind Connor Roberts. Connor Roberts was vital to our system last season. And Vitinho, when he came in, he was good, but he never got consistent game time. Now, I really do think there's a good shout for Vitinho, because Vitinho yesterday was brilliant. I thought he was decent against West Ham, and I thought he's been decent the last couple of times he's played. But to be fair, he was more just a shout, but I do think Sander Berge is his most improved player. Those first 3 games, I thought I have no idea what is going on. But he has been immense, and he's been the centre midfielder that we've wanted. And that we wanted at the start of the season. So I'm so pleased for him, and I'm pleased for the squad as well, because we've needed it. We've needed a midfielder that's just going to get the ball and just be strong enough to carry the ball and put his body in the way and move around. Brilliant, Vitinho or Berge for me. Take your pick. But
Vitinho's a good shout. Because when he played against Chelsea, it was ran absolute ragged by, I think it was Sterling. And I remember thinking, like, this guy ain't a Premier League fullback. Like, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place now with Roberts and Vitinho. This is my thinking at the time. Mm-hmm. Like, what we're going to do here now. But I think Vitinho, as I said at the start of the streams, pretty much made that position his own. And I struggled to see Connor getting back in at the minute, if I'm perfectly honest. As Harry says, he was brilliant yesterday. Wish he would improve defensively one-on-one, though. But even defensively yesterday, he played well.
I thought he was really good defensively yesterday. I think he was really good. I think what we've currently got now is a lot of the players that we didn't actually know a lot about have actually ended up being some of his best players, like Brun Larson there. Like, Brun Larson, we knew nothing about. Like, we kind of signed him on, like, off the cuff, just signed him as a body. And we were like, oh, this guy's never going to play. He's just going to be like, for example, Chillinov last season, without disrespecting Darko, because I do really like him. Like, Chillinov was bought again in a season where we had Manuel Benson and Zereri. Like, he was kind of an afterthought of a winger, wasn't he? Because then you could move Teller onto the right-hand side and bring Benson off and put somebody else further forward. Will Larson, like, he was an unknown entity, and we're now seeing a good footballer come out there. It's the same with Luca. In my opinion, those two are our wingers now. Brun Larson and Koleosho, with Vitinho at right back and Charlie Taylor at left back. That centre-half partnership, I do like. I have liked Dara O'Shea. I don't think Dara O'Shea has been I do think to a degree, he's been scapegoated. I do think that he hasn't been great, but I do think, like, rather than pinning it on the entire defence, people have tried to look at one person and say, like, he's making mistakes when it's really, like, as a defensive unit, we're breaking down. So I do actually like Dara O'Shea being in there with Bayer. I just think one of his biggest things he needs to improve on is his distribution, but he's never been a distributor. He's always just been a solid, put your foot through a tackle centre-half.
Yeah.
Right. So he's also learning that type of role, but I just so happy. I'm just so happy. I love it.
Liam Beach says, buzzing up the Clarets. Jimmy Hawk says, how long have we been live for? 71 minutes, mate, and we're coming towards the end. My last question to you, Sam, and the chat. Get your predictions in for Wolves. Can Burnley go to Molineux and win on Tuesday? Wolves are going to be one of the sides that sit back and try and hit us with set pieces and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how we break them down. But could that play into our hands? It's going to be tough to find the pockets against Wolves that we found against Sheffield United, which is what we really exploited, because they're quite similar to Dyche in a way. They will set up like that, but it's going to be class. I'm expecting us to go in it with confidence, and because of that, I'm going into it with confidence. 1-0 Burnley, sod it. 1-0 Burnley, sod it. That's more my heart than my head, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm going to say 1-0 to Burnley. What are you thinking, Sam?
I'm going to go with a 2-1 to Burnley. I'm going to go with we go 2 goals up and they get a goal right near the end and makes it nervy, but we manage to cling on because this is hopefully a different Burnley side. We're able to see out victories and really go toe-to-toe with teams now. So Wolves are a good side. I completely agree. I completely agree with Harry, and they very easily could beat us, and I'd turn around and be like, fairs. But I 2-1. 2-1. Let's all be happy. Let's just stay happy for Sunday for once. Let's just 2-1 Burnley. Go for that.
2-1 Burnley. Another 3 points for the Clarets coming. That, you know what? Like I'm going to say I agree. I'm hoping that we win. But I am now getting frustrated at the fact that we didn't hold on against West Ham, because the position that we'd be in now, if we'd held on against West Ham, battered Sheffield United, and then going into the Wolves game, and the Wolves fans, I presume the Wolves fans will be looking at this thinking, all right, not a great time for Burnley to win, but they've only beat Sheffield United, so we'll probably still beat them. Whereas if we'd beat West Ham, then battered Sheffield United, then got into that Wolves game, the Wolves fans and the Wolves players were like, hold on a second, let's just sit up and take notice of this Burnley team. So, yeah, I'm just a little bit frustrated, but I'm thinking we can go on and get something.
Well, there's a further argument to that. Could you imagine if VAR had competent referees doing it? We'd have had 3 points against Nottingham Forest. We'd have had a point against Bournemouth. We'd be in a much better position, wouldn't we? But no. Really good, like.
Although I'm sure Wolves fans will argue about VAR.
To be fair, in saying that, there is no way that I'm going to try and out VAR Wolves fans, because they are getting absolutely done in this year. They honestly, they should have 5 framed apology letters now from the PGOL. Like, how bad have they been for Wolves? Seriously,
they've been shocking, and they've been shocking in general. Like, not just Wolves. And what pissed me off the other week was with how bad they've been recently, and how much in the spotlight how bad they've been recently. Howard Webb still came out and said he needs to crack down on the imaginary yellow card waving. Like, mate, you've got more important things to worry about than players going, come on, ref, book him.
That's the thing, though, mate. Like, Howard Webb is now he's like the president of, like, referees now. I swear he's like the president.
He's the head of PEGMOL, isn't he? Whatever, PJMOL, whatever it's called.
Mate, if that's what you're going to sit there and talk about in your board meetings, not the handball that's just cracked on in the Champions League this week. I know it's a different governing body, but you're still part of it. And all this stuff with Wolves, and then us and other teams have had it as well. If you're going to look at that and look at, like, the penalty shout that we had again last week against West Ham and didn't give it, all the times that you've let Wolves down this season, and you're going to turn around and say, well, you've been saying that you want more yellow cards in the game, and you can't do that to referees because that's not nice. Then, honestly, just get out. Get in the bin. So strange, isn't it?
Graham says it's on Prime on Tuesday. Is that right?
If it is, that's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it. So
as long as we've got Ali McCoy's doing the commentary, that's fine by me.
Yeah, I'm sure if there's a few games on Tuesday, they'll probably wheel Ali McCoy out for the main game.
I love it when Ali McCoist is on. I can't stand it when you watch games and you've got like Jermaine Genius trying to tell you about football.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just
I
does
mean,
my head in.
Jermaine Genius is a William Hill ambassador, so I need to be careful what I say, but I completely agree with you, Sam.
Or you've got like Danny Murphy trying to tell you about football. Honestly, honestly, certain commentators really, really grind my gears, right? But there's nobody who annoys me more than Danny Murphy. He tries to do what Roy Keane does, but with absolutely no football context. He's always just like, well, I don't think that were a foul at all. And a tackle in my day, that wouldn't have even been a yellow card when someone's gone studs up on someone's knee. And he just sees something and just goes, nah, no chance. Just to be controversial because he had a boring football career. But no, honestly, Ali McCoist, that'll do me.
Ali McCoist and Laura Woods.
Oh, yeah. Too right.
Yeah. Danny Astin says, let's just stay on all day, lads. Thumbs up, then laughs. Unfortunately, not me. We both have...
I'm so
I'll sign off now and I'll leave Sam on. He can just sit there. He's going to do a live NFL chat over the next 6 hours.
Mate, I can't wait. I can't wait. We've got the Jets at 6. Come on.
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here, everybody. So, Sam, first of all, thank you for coming on, mate. I know it's a pleasure. It's a lot of people were asking for Neil in the chat. Someone that asked about him quite regularly, but I think has now left. Neil is, I'm going to say unwell. He's just being soft. He's lost his voice, which, to be fair, as I said earlier, is a main thing in actual talking videos. So fair enough. But yeah, he's got a bit of a cold, so unfortunately Neil isn't here for that. But he will be back next week if he gets his cold better. But Sam, I know you don't like you don't use your page as much as you used to, the Clarets Roundup, just because we've been a bit crap. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? Because you might be up for a chat again now. Who
knows? I might be back. Yeah, I've had a couple of people tweeting me saying you're a bit quiet recently. Though, Clarets Roundup guys, just come over and have a chat. Tweet me if you want to. I'm always up for a chat. I'm just a bit more busy than I used to be, but I'm still here and ill-dressed.
Promotions at work, and smashing gym. He's well busy, his lad.
Oh, aye. Just living life, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for coming on. Thank you everybody for commenting. Thank you everybody for watching. Usual stuff. If you joined late like Solent and you joined late like the other guy in the chat, then do not worry. When I press end live, the video stays on YouTube so you can watch it back on your demand. Yes, I get this a lot. Chase the Dream says, what's it like doing a podcast with Josh Brownell, Joe? We get that a lot.
He's a good-looking bloke, lads. Right. Get it, make it happen. We'll get a photo together. Make it happen. Let's get tweeting.
We'll do it. We'll get it sorted. If we don't get it, I'll just do some editing. I say editing, picture next to each other. Colin McGlynn says, thank guys, cheer me up. If you weren't here earlier, Colin did put in the comments that he had a heart attack earlier in the week. So fingers crossed for you, Colin. Hope all is well. Drop us a message on Twitter, mate. Give us a follow if you don't already. Harry says, Joe, any chance of doing the pre-game shows live? I don't know. I like to be different with the two shows. I like to have a bit of a different thing. But if I don't get a chance to do this Wolves show till like 6 p.m. the night tomorrow, then I might just do it live anyway. But I probably won't make it a regular thing. But yeah, I was in the middle of signing off. Chase the Dream says, any news, Ree Benson? No. He trained with the under-21s this week. That's all I know. But Graham says, great show, Sam and comments. Joe, Sam and comments, sorry. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I was in the middle of signing off and I got digressed. I'll start again. If you I know, yeah. If you join the stream late and you want to watch it back, don't worry. When I press end live, it will stay on YouTube for you to watch back at your leisure. If you find yourself regularly missing the start of the show because you don't know that we're live, follow us on Twitter, turn the notifications on, because I always tweet it and give enough notice on Twitter, or follow it, subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already, and turn the notifications on, because even then I'll give even more notice on YouTube. So there's plenty of chance for you to get involved early on if you want. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening on the podcast. And I don't know if we'll get a chance to do one after Wolves because it'll be late on Tuesday. I'll message the lads in the chat. Sam's a busy man. I might have to do it on my own. Neil's got the same job as Sam, so they're both quite busy during the week. So we'll see what happens. But if not, I'll definitely do a pre-game show. I've already been speaking to a Wolves fan. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.